I know I always was. So we're up to 11 now. Yeah, I guess. And one thing we could have spoken about a few minutes ago was, and I don't know, Jason, Carmel, either of y'all talked about who was going to go first. I have an idea, being I know at least one of us is on the East Coast and the rest of us, well, aren't. Um, but how does that sound to you?
It works. I will stay here for the entire time.
So we're up to 13. I said 11 a second ago, and now it's 14, which is always awesome to see. So first off, everyone, welcome to this month's edition of the Phoenix Salesforce Saturdays Group. Of course, Donald Borshire, always got to rep the vet for sure, aka Salesforce Military. And we're excited to have both Jason, our amazing co-leader here, as well as Carmel, our wonderful guest speaker this evening.
Hi, everyone. I'm from the East Coast, so good evening to you all.
So, yeah, and everyone else, it's definitely great to have you. We're going up. With that being said, this is being recorded. Obviously, we'll post it to the playlist like we have the last two at the end of this. And yeah, I guess Jason, want to go and just provide a brief intro for anyone who hasn't been here, and then pass it off to Carmel.
Okay, great. So here we are, March. There's been a lot of madness. It's been the year of madness. So I don't want any March madness. We've had a whole year of madness. So let's try to get some methods for our madness. And what better way to do that than with science? So Carmel, I met on my journey, which I'll share more about the journey for the second part. As Carmel, as a scientist turned consultant, could be able to help us understand the science of consulting and for being able to be analytical and experimental and innovative and wonderful. You know, she wasn't born this way. It was an experiment. So
that's not wrong.
And at the end, stay tuned everyone for the end, because we're going to be giving away for a prize giveaway. It was supposed to be quizzes. I was supposed to be making a quiz, and I was really excited for the theme for you, Carmel, with you being the speaker here, because right now we're in March, we're in Women's History Month. Last month was Black History Month. Next month is Earth Day, and I could just call that like Science Month. Okay, from the sustainability. Yeah, Science Month. And so like here you are, like right there in the middle of it, right? A Black woman scientist. So I was thinking, ooh, what trivia can I get about that? And I didn't get time to get it, so it's still like hidden figures. If you know any fun facts of Black female scientists besides Carmel, that's great. Let's get it out there. But for our giveaway is going to be like a lottery type of drawing, which is like the opposite side of science, unless but it goes
mathematics.
It's going to be mathematics, and also it goes into what then my presentation's about, which is my trailblazing journey, how I trailblaze with networking. I did 150 informational interviews in a month, and the reason is because this goes with the science of luck. A great quote I picked up is that luck is just a matter of having the right skills at the right time. So if you're out there, you give yourself more time, you're going to get more luck. So if you don't win today, try again. It's worth the price of admission.
Interjection real quick. So just so everyone's on the same page, I thought this was actually pretty cool. Not only is Rhythm Saida also from the East Coast joining us, we also have a Tiffany Thomas and a Liren. So there's at least 4 of us, including Carmel, that are all here from the East Coast. So, and Doug Steed. So how about that?
East Coast is repping.
Right. So the one other thing I want to say real quick is for anyone in YouTube land, if you have any questions, please put them into the chat box on the right. And as you put your questions in, I will put them into the Zoom that we're presenting from. And our speakers will get some. So with that being said, Carmel.
All right, I will kick us off. Well, thank you both for letting me join here at the Phoenix Salesforce user group meeting. As everyone has said, my name is Carmel James, and this is the science of consulting. which I think is pretty cool. So a little bit about me is that I am formally trained as a chemist. When I went off to college, I thought, oh, I can do things like maybe pre-law, or perhaps, no, I would never do English. I was going to say that because I know it's a popular major, but I couldn't do it. There's just something about math and science that really excited me. And I remember passing my high school chemistry exam in order to graduate with a perfect score. And I said, well, if I can do high school chemistry, I can definitely do college. How much, worse could it get? It can't be that bad. And then following college, I became a nonprofit champion, working in the nonprofit world, specifically at some really great organizations. And it's where I was first introduced to Salesforce. And from there, it kind of all just clicked together. It was like, oh my gosh, I can take my love of science and apply it to working in databases. Yes, please. Where do I sign up? How do I do this? This is all I want to do. And now as a Salesforce consultant, it really is everything that I do every single day. And I am just so pleased to do it. It's really my biggest joy. And so I'm really happy to talk about how I take science and apply it to my work when I'm working with different organizations to help them streamline their Salesforce system. A lot of times it could feel really nerve-wracking, especially when you're new, of like, how do you figure things out? But I found that science really grounded me and made me feel safe, and being able to tackle new problems and build out solutions where maybe I didn't always know if that was the right answer, but it's okay. Science told me it was okay. So I'm sure for a lot of you, when you hear chemistry, this is exactly what you're thinking about. You think about Erlenmeyer flask and beakers, and they're on these different stands sitting up in like rooms and things, and just scary drawings on the wall. Like, why are there nothing but pictures? I thought that this was science. Well, science does use pictures. And also maybe some interesting symbols, where maybe it's the skull and crossbones, which is danger or radioactive, and gloves and goggles and lab coats. Well, I'll tell you, you're not wrong. That is really 100% what chemistry is. But chemistry is also a lot of the things that we go through and experience in life and interact with on a daily basis. So it's the food that you eat. When you cook onions in a pan, that's actually chemistry. You are chemically changing the bonds that are in the onion by breaking them down. Heat breaks them apart and it changes the flavor of the onions. The computers that we use, if you think about some of the mechanisms that are happening in the computer, the way that things might heat up, say the batteries, the way that batteries work is a chemical reaction. Maybe the filters that you're using at home to filter your water in order to drink it, that is 100% chemistry. Even the cosmetics that we wear, a chemist has probably helped make that product. So chemistry and science are not as far from what you think. We interact with them every day, so they can't possibly be scary. Science is not allowed to be scary. And so I know that you're thinking, like, how in the world is science supposed to help me be a better admin? Like, what is science going to do for you? Well, if you remember back to grade school, middle school, high school, whatever the school is called, it's been a very long time since I've been in any of those types of schools. You might remember the scientific method. And the scientific method is what I really think about every day that I go into work and I sit down and talk to my clients and hear their problems. This is what's going through my head. And it's really what science has taught me, not only chemistry, but biology, physics, even math. Math is really just science, but with less fun things, less chemicals, less things that you can touch. But the scientific method is really what I root my work in. You start with your observation or your question, which is really, what's the problem? What are we dealing with here? Followed by research. Well, what exactly is causing the problem? Why are we experiencing this problem? What do you have to find out in order to understand the problem? Which then leads us to our hypothesis. of, okay, so we know there's a problem and we know we have to do something about it. So what can we do? How do we solve this and stop it from being an issue? Which leads you to your experiment, where this is the fun part of science. This is really the fun part of Salesforce too. It's where you get to test and validate whether or not your hypothesis is correct. Did you, figure out the right solution to solve your problem? Followed by analysis. Also, one of the key things in science that any scientist does is they analyze and say, great, what did you do? Why did you do it? How did you do it? It's, the 5 W's and an H: who, what, when, where, why, how. And it's your chance to take a step back and just kind of think about things and reflect a little bit on what has happened and why. And then finally, you get to your conclusion, which is taking everything that you've just done from the observation down to analysis and putting it all together to say, great, I'm going to just package it. And this is what we learned from conducting this experiment. And here's the end of our hypothesis. And what's nice about science is it says, great, we're just going to redo that over and 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 over again until you keep coming to the same conclusion, and then you get to call that the truth. Because if you've done it 100 times and every single time it comes out basically the same, well, we're going to call that the truth until we do it, the 101st time and it doesn't come out the same. And then we're going to take that and we're going to say, great, let's look at this a little bit deeper and figure out, why did that not work? And then again, it's a cycle. You're going to repeat, figure out what's your problem, what's causing it, how do we fix it, how do I test it, why did it happen that way, what did we learn? And that is the wonderful thing about the scientific method. Best part is it can really be applied to anything. So I don't know if any of you are out there are really big store fans, but I absolutely adore Costco. By the way, I'm in no way affiliated with Costco, so I just want to put that out there. I just happen to love going to the store a lot. And when I go to the store, I'm sometimes overwhelmed by the decisions of laundry detergent, which feels like a very simple thing, but sometimes I change my mind when I get there and I'm like, I've got, 6 hours to kill. Of course, I could spend 6 hours in Costco just looking at laundry detergent. Like, wait, does nobody else do this? Maybe it's just me. But when I go to the store, I think about the scientific method. And I'm sure you're thinking, like, how in the world does the scientific method play out here? Well, if we start at our observation phase, we know that we need laundry detergent. That's kind of why we're here, right? Like, we're going to the store, we know that we need something. So we're going to get laundry detergent. And part of our next phase in the research is saying, great, well, what are my options for laundry detergent? So these are 100% options from Costco. You can get the Kirkland Signature, which is Costco's version of laundry detergent. You can have Tide, maybe with OxyClean. I don't know if you need that advanced power. Or you can go with Downy, which apparently is always super fresh, right? And so you're like, great, I know I need to pick laundry detergent, and your hypothesis doesn't always have to be something that's concrete and saying, like, I'm going to test laundry detergent to see which one's more efficient. That doesn't necessarily work here when you're just trying to pick it. So our hypothesis is really like, I need to pick a laundry detergent, but I'm not sure how to do that. And so our experiment phase is going to look just a slightly different. We're going to start by saying, okay, well, let's look at all three and let's start with understanding, well, how much laundry detergent am I getting? If you go with Kirkland, you get 194. If you go with Tide, you get 150 fluid ounces. And with Downy, you get 165. Now, the size of these bottles when you're in the store look all the same. The only way you can do this is to read the label. And you're like, okay, well, I do want to not have to go to Costco that often. So maybe I go with the largest one. And then your brain's like, are you sure? Have you considered the price of how much this is? And so you start looking at the price and you're like, okay, Kirkland is about $18. That's not bad. Tide is 23. Okay, that's coming out as the most expensive one. And then you have Downy at 16.49, which is the least expensive. So you're like, okay, I've still got some options. No, the price didn't help me in figuring out like which one do I really need to buy. So then you're going to add in another variable to this experiment of trying to figure out what laundry detergent to buy by saying, well, how do I feel about these brands, right? Now, again, I love Costco, so I'm going with Kirkland. Like, I love it. It's the thing that I use, and I actually do use Kirkland. Again, I'm not affiliated with Costco. Please don't tell them that I did this and then like say, Carmel told me that I can only buy Kirkland. I did not say that. I just happen to really love Kirkland laundry detergent. But Tide, I don't feel so strongly to Tide. I don't know what it is, but I don't like it. It's probably a past experience. Maybe it was the Tide Pod challenge that kids used to do some days. I don't know, but I'm not in it for Tide. And Downy, I really don't have an opinion. I've never tried it. It's a laundry detergent. So after conducting these little experiments of looking at variables like whether or not, what are my feelings to it, right? Like, do I love it? Do I hate it? Do I have no opinion? What's the price of all of them? How many fluid ounces am I getting? I get to start making some comparisons. You know, I've run my experiments to figure out what are the results of each of these. And now I need to go into that analysis phase and figure out, well, which one am I going to pick? I mean, I still have to make a decision and I have to leave Costco eventually because I don't know if they'll close the store with me in it, but I hope they won't. So you start thinking, well, which one has the most fluid ounces? Okay, well, Kirkland has the most fluid ounces, but it's medium price, right? That feels very reasonable. Whereas Tide has medium in terms of fluid ounce. Actually, no, it has the lowest amount in fluid ounces, but it's also the most expensive. And then I start thinking, well, does that mean it's the best effective? I don't know. Maybe it's not, and that's why I hate it. Again, I have no idea. I'm not affiliated with any of these laundry detergents. And then finally, you have Downy, which is the average amount of ounces at an average price. So honestly, when it comes out, if you're really picking a laundry detergent, it's kind of a wash, right? Like you can pick the one with the most fluid ounces and hope it's not the most expensive, or you can pick the most expensive because you really love it. Or you just pick the one with no opinion because it's just Groundhog's Day all over again in March 2021. And you're like, I just want laundry detergent and I want to get out of the store. So when it comes down to it, whether or not you knew it, you kind of actually conduct science every single day, especially if you've ever had this problem at the store where you just want something and you're trying to figure out which one to get. And you start doing this in your head. You know, you might not label it as a hypothesis of which laundry detergent to pick. Maybe I picked Tide, right? You're not calling it an experiment when you're going through and comparing the price and how much you're getting and whether or not, like, what are your feelings towards that brand? Or is there a coupon? I didn't even add that in. That's another variable that we could have tested. Are any of them on sale? You know, science actually lives with you every single day of your life, whether or not you really realized it. So when we come back to this question of how can science help me be a more awesome admin? Well, you do it every single day. You just haven't labeled it that way. So when we take the time to think about the scientific method, in which we can call it the Salesforce scientific method, that's not a real word, but there's no red squigglies, so that's good. I'm going to call it a real word. But when we think about how to use the scientific method and these principles of science in our work as we're going through and trying to figure out, like, how do I solve this problem in Salesforce? We can really start thinking like, okay, let's figure out what's my observation. And maybe what that sounds like is, what is the issue that the user is having in the system? Because a lot of our work happens because someone was having a problem and now they need our help, which then leads us to say, well, we need to do some research. We need to go back and say, what does Salesforce documentation say about this problem? Because maybe it's a problem you've never experienced before, and so you don't know what to do. I have help.salesforce.com bookmarked on any of my browser windows. In fact, when I just type in H, I use Google Chrome, and Chrome is like, did you mean help.salesforce.com? Because that's how often I reference it. I do a lot of research in my job to make sure that is what I'm thinking actually supposed to happen that way. Which then next, as I'm trying to solve these problems, I'm going through to my hypothesis phase to then say, well, what are these updates that can be made? Can I change something to the configuration? Do I need to change something to the process itself? Now that I've done this research and I have a good understanding of what is and is not supposed to happen, where do I go from here in trying to figure that out? And that's really your solutioning. You're trying to say, great, I hear that you have a problem. Here's what we're going to do about it. Now, it can be very scary, especially when you're starting out in Salesforce, to be like, is this the right solution? Quite honestly, I have that fear every single day. Now, we'll talk about some tips that science gave me at the end, but I want you to know, don't be afraid of that feeling. The best part about science is that anyone who did science and came before us also had no idea what they were doing. They just tried something and kept going. That's what the scientific method is about. It's about guiding us and saying, try it and keep going, right? Like, do it once. Okay, what did we learn? That's fine. Do it again. See what you get. So if you ever have that feeling where you're like, is this the right solution? Don't worry. The Salesforce method has your back. It does. You just got to say, like, we're going to try this solution and see what happens. Which leads us to our experiment, which is sandbox testing. Yes, yes. And if you're not excited about sandbox testing, you should be. The sandbox is my best friend because I can destroy it as many times as I want and it never gets mad at me. It just says, thank you. Please refresh me after you have built 2 configurations or more in here so that I can match production because I want to know that I have the latest changes. So just like in our work, our experiment is going through. We build the configuration and then we build our test records and we actually test it over and over and over and over and over again. And if you've never done that, you should definitely start doing that. Test it for every iteration you possibly can, even for the things where you're like, nobody does that. Do it anyway. What do you have to lose? Nothing. Actually, you have nothing to lose except for knowledge, which then leads us to the almost end. I was going to say the end, but it's not there yet. It leads us to the analysis phase of our work. After we're done going through and testing all these things in the sandbox, we then get to ask ourselves, did this actually resolve the issue that a user came to us with? Did I solve the problem that they told me was an issue? Did I create more problems? Which that has happened before. And if it's happened to you, okay, it's happened to me. Don't worry, like that happens and it's totally fine. Again, the Salesforce method has our back. Science just says, great, just note it. It'll be okay. We'll figure it out in a second. Which then leads us to the conclusion of, well, how do we keep track of all these changes, right? Like maybe you found out, okay, great, yes, this did work and it's exactly what I need and I'm going to push it to production. Wonderful, that's excellent. But what happens when you make that change and then 2 weeks later you go on vacation and something breaks and one of your coworkers tries to fix it and there's no history of how or why this brand new change is there? In Salesforce, our conclusion really comes to, how are we keeping track of this? Is there a central place where we can document everything that we've been doing so that if somebody else comes to step in and help because you're out for a day, you went on vacation, or you, I don't know, just took a walk, and for whatever reason, Salesforce has apparently blown up and nobody knows how to use it anymore. There's a place where someone can go and understand why you made the changes that you made and how exactly you solved that problem. And then you just repeat it all over again, right? And then it's just like, great, what's the next problem that we're solving? This list view doesn't work? Wonderful. In your mind, you're not going through and separating it out as what's my observation? Have I done my research? What's my hypothesis? Did I do my experiment? It's not those words, but the scientific method supports you every single day. And if you slightly change your mindset, it can help you become even better, because you start saying, I want to really focus on observation. I know I'm not really strong at this, but let me focus on how I can get better, clearer requirements from my users so that I know how to build better things. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I don't do a great job in documentation. That's 100% a thing. And even when I was starting out, I didn't know what to do with documentation. I'm very lucky that science gave me a background in how to write really well, that my documentation just always sparkled because it always answered questions of like who, what, when, where, why, how. I basically said, whatever I did in my analysis phase, I'm just going to put that on paper. So feel free, right, to take a moment to think about what you're really strong at work, what you're not, and then take some time to improve on it. And don't worry, we are 100% going to succeed together because we are a community. So these are some of the guiding principles that I remember, and I even repeat to myself when I'm just having a day where I'm like, I know I should be getting this. I don't understand why this process builder works. I've been working in the Salesforce ecosystem for 6 years. I still have that moment where I'm like, did you just forget to turn on email deliverability back on, and that's why your email alert's not working? I'm like, yeah, that's the reason why. It's totally fine. I got this. But some of the guiding principles that I took away from science and in my work as a chemist that I still use today is you learn more by doing it wrong than you will ever learn from doing it right. And this was actually something that one of my professors said to me. At the time, I was a young, recent high school graduate. It was, I think, organic chemistry. No, it was organic chemistry. And I was a little frustrated because I wasn't getting it. And I wanted to be that A student. And I wasn't. I was not an A student for the first semester. I was for the second. Not that that's important, but I kept going back to my professor and I'm like, I don't understand. Why won't you just give me the answer? Mind you, I did not have this philosophy of science and the scientific method and how it could help me in basically everything in my life at that time. I was like 20. I didn't have that knowledge. And she just told me flat out, I can't give you the answer because you're going to learn so much more by doing it wrong than you ever will if I just tell it to you, or if you get it right the first time. And that really stuck with me because then I changed my mindset of how I did my work and how I conducted my experiments. Not so much of did I get the right answer or did I get the wrong answer, but more that I got an answer. I got something. It's better than nothing. So it's okay. Even if it's wrong, it's okay. I'm going to learn something from this. I'm going to keep it with me, which really means that my failure is my success. In science, we don't look at something as a failure, right? If we conduct a hypothesis, we put it together, this is our statement of what we're trying to solve and what we're going to do, and then we do an experiment and it doesn't come out the way that we were thinking, we actually call that a success. And I know it feels really backwards. Why would you call it a success? Well, because it proved something to me. It proved my theory didn't work. So it leads me in the direction of, hey, okay, so this didn't work. Maybe I just need to pivot a little bit and change one thing to see if that works. So failure really is success. When you're feeling down and like, I don't know what I'm doing and why am I doing it this way and nothing is working, remind yourself you're learning so much by failing. Because how do you know what is success if you don't know what failure looks like? Which then leads to the last point of like, just for good measure, do it the opposite way. Whatever you're currently doing, I don't know what it is, right? Like maybe you're testing a process builder and you're taking the exact steps that you know are going to trigger the process builder. Take the time to do the opposite step just to prove to yourself that it's right. Go ahead, embrace that failure. Know that the process builder is going to succeed or going to fail. It's totally okay. You want that failure to validate that your work and what you just configured is actually right. Because again, how do you know what success is if you also don't know what failure looks like? And some of the age-old things is ask for help. I do not know everything in the world. Help.salesforce.com is literally my favorite website. But when I want to throw it out of the window and just walk away from my computer, I go to my coworkers and I ask for help. I raise my hand and now I put an emoji in my Slack channel and say, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm doing this wrong and I don't know what it is. And it's my moment to take a step back and lean on somebody else to help me figure out something that maybe I didn't know, right? Salesforce is constantly changing. There's nothing wrong with saying, I got this far and I don't know what else to do. Which then, of course, write everything down. Everything. This is your documentation. When you're having a bad day, go ahead and write that down. If you've got a little place where you just keep all of your notes, write down how you were feeling. It feels really stupid. I admit there were times when I was doing independent research and my teacher was like, your lab notebook is not good enough. And I was like, what? I said what I did in the experiment. And she's like, no, you just wrote down the steps that you took. You didn't tell me that you spilled the beaker of solvent on the table. And I was like, well, why would that be important? Well, because in 2 months, when you go back and I ask you again, hey, your results look really funny. And you tell me, oh, it's because I spilled some solvent and I had a beaker, I knocked it over, I spilled it. That's why, right? When you go back 2 months from now, you're not going to remember that. I can't tell you what I had for lunch today. That was only like 6 hours ago. I have no idea, none. But when I write it down, it's my way to go back and be like, that's why I did it. It jumpstarts my memory so that I can pick up exactly where I left off that day. So feel free, write it all down, even if it has your feelings in it. Even if you're like, I'm so mad, I want to throw this computer out the window. And that's why I chose to do it the way that somebody else told me not to do it. And then it happened to work. Write that down, right? Like there's nothing wrong in having that history. And lastly, when you do have those moments where you're just like, I'm going to tear my blue hair out, just dance it out. I love Grey's Anatomy. And that was the thing I actually just took from Grey's. I mean, they're doctors, so that makes them scientists. And I was like, when in doubt, dance it out. Just put on your favorite music, just jive it out. Let go of all of the feelings of insecurity, of anger, of happiness, sadness, joy, failure, embarrassment. Let it go. Put on your favorite song and just let the music wash it away. I do that every day. When I'm not on Zoom calls and talking to people, there's just music blasting 24/7 because it's what keeps me calm. So if dancing it out isn't what does it for you, by all means, feel free to figure it out. Maybe it's eating the peanut M&Ms that are in the back that I know you guys have been staring at. And yes, they are delicious and I will probably eat them after this. But find your thing, right? Like, don't let anyone take it from you and make it yours. Make sure that you shine in that thing and it just becomes the thing that you are known for. So those are my guiding principles. And I hope that they give you some comfort, hopefully some comfort that science has been with you your entire life. You might not have known it. And if you're like, I'm still not really strong in science, it's totally okay. You don't have to go and get like a PhD in chemistry. I certainly didn't. I only have the bachelor's and I'm very happy with it. It helps me every single day of my life. And if I had to do it over, I would 100% would do it exactly the same way. I loved everything that I learned, and I'm really lucky that it gave me some good structures that help support me in my work every single day. So I'd like to say to all of you, thank you for joining and for listening to all of that. I really do hope that you're able to take something and just find comfort in the fact that science is there for you. And if you ever have that moment where you're like, I don't know, by all means, feel free to like find me on Twitter or not Instagram, maybe email. You can email me by all means, but let science be your guiding light. If it hasn't been already, just know it's there for you all of the time. So thank you all.
That was awesome, and granted, that was the first time that I've heard of the Salesforce method. I love it, and I think maybe we can get a new hashtag trending over there. I did actually. I know it's over the really late over there on the East Coast, but if you did want to stay, hang out, interact with those of us, there's about 20, 22 keeps fading in between the two.
Oh, I'm staying. Phoenix, I'm staying. You got me here.
I dropped the link in the comments here on Zoom, and so if you want to go over there and hang out with everyone else, awesome. If not, I totally get it. I know you said you're here, but again, it's it's hella late over there, so it is what it is. But no, either way, thank you very much. That was honestly it was partially hilarious in a very positive way, and B, it was awesome. So thank you very much.
Yes. Oh, were there any questions? Did anyone want to ask anything while I'm still here?
I actually just posted again as kind of a reminder, seeing if there were any questions, and there was not. But yeah, if they do post any, that's another reason I was saying if you wanted to hang out, maybe they come up with some questions, as time goes on.
All right. Well, everyone, I will then see you in the chat. Again, thank you, Phoenix User Group, for letting me be here. I can't wait to watch your presentation, Jason.
That was wonderful. Quite an act to follow. Oh my goodness. I mean, you got chemistry, literally. So yeah, and that pun just all the time. I gotta use that. So yeah, so I'm really excited that presentation to be able to help the Ohana to be able to be trailblazers, because that's what trailblazing is. It's innovation, it's experimentation for all those sensations. So that was really wonderful. And so how I was able to meet you, Carmel, you're on the East Coast. I'm on the Grand Coast. It's the Grand Canyon is what I call it. And so how we got to meet is from my journey. So let me go ahead and share my screen and get to going for that. Let's see. Oh my goodness, I have so many screens here. Present view. Oh, yes. Okay. All right. And let me just get a confirmation real quick. You guys seeing my presenter view screen?
It says it's loading. You get one moment. It says you've started sharing your screen, but it doesn't actually show anything yet.
Okay, let's see. Maybe do this, resume. How about now?
There we go. That's what's up.
Oh, okay. So good?
Yep, we are good to go, sir.
Fantastic. Okay, all right, everybody. Welcome aboard, everybody, and let's get on that trail. So I'm going to tell you about my journey to how I got here, the journey I like to call how to network to get work with less than expected effort. It's a bit of a take of the musical How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. So as you can see, I was in high school theater, which explains my theatrics, and taking the not really taking the lessons from that, but in a way, we'll get into that journey, because if anyone, but give a holler in the YouTube comments if you've actually seen the musical How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. It's it's campy. It's very campy, and so am I. So is the Ohana and Trailhead. That's what it's all about, campiness. And that's what gets us together, is being very able to be very happy and being very supportive. I'm just so in love with the Ohana, because I found that there's 3 elements. Here we go, into that chemistry. The chemistry of the Ohana are 3 elements that keep it together. It's the 3 elements is that people are, oh gosh, it's been actually a while since I've gone through those 3 elements. They are, it's evolving, it is, it's accessible, and it's impactful. There we go. Logic. So it's accessible. You have your accidental admins. You have that's celebrated. That's where you have the campiness from. It's like, oh my goodness, I can do this. Yeah, you could do this. We could do this. And through science, we could do it even better. Let's get scientifically Salesforce. And so that accessibility, being able to never study coding before, but now being able to do that, and through being able to help others do that through VetForce and through all the other communities that are reaching out to give people an opportunity to help be impactful, being able to see how they're making a difference. The thing that Salesforce does, it's really very cool. You geek out about it. I geek out about it. You know, I don't just talk about this stuff I'm not this geeky for everything. And because it's continually evolving, that's what keeps everyone connected for the Ohana. And so these are the elements that I found that make it so wonderful for networking. And that's why I want to share my journey, not to boast or have a therapy session as a diary, like, oh, let me tell you, dear Salesforce diary. I want to share the lessons that I've learned, because we are people relationship management people. And I want to make sure that you are doing those best practices in CRM for your users, those best practices you want for your users and for your admins, documentation, how you can be able to apply that for your networking. So, let me introduce myself. Here we go. First slide, introduce myself. So I'm Jason E. Zykowitz, or you can call me J Sunny Z, here to brighten your day, warm your heart, and enlighten your mind. It was an iterative name thought of from all the networking and being able to let my personality come out and shine through the Ohana. And for shining, we're going to cover these 4 steps that I've covered. This is my method for being a people relationship management person, to network, to get work with less than expected less than expected effort. Just 4 steps. That's so easy. So step number 1, find. Find is a 2-way street. You have to let your find flag fly. You have to let people find you. If you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn at the very least. You can get on Twitter too. I have a presence there. But LinkedIn is great because that's like your a page for people to find you, for people to connect with you. It's just like having a virtual mailbox. Better, you have your email, but how people are going to find your email. So it's just a way for people to find you. So make sure you have your presence out there so that you can connect with people and people can connect with you. You can get people referring to you. So make sure you get all of that. And then people will share it along, because sharing is caring. Thanks, Akalash. And once you have your presence, then you're going to start networking. So right over here, sharing is caring. This website is the Trailblazer Community Group calendar. So if you just go to the trailblazercommunitygroups.com, you can search for your local community group. But this webpage right here, /events/pound/calendar, you're able to see the events calendar. And right now in this time of virtual meetings, you can see meetings all around the world. And one of the cool meetings actually right now in New Zealand, they're still having virtual meetings for that accessibility factor, but they're able to have in-person meetings. So it's a bit of a preview for how we could be able to do that as well. How they're having in-person meetings, but they're also having it broadcast, and they're having like the camera of the room. So it's pretty cool. You have to be up a bit later though than you would if you're on the East Coast coming to Phoenix. So it's a bit more of a time shift, but well worth it. Well worth it. You're going to still be up all night just from all the excitement from it. Other ways to connect, besides the Trailblazer community groups, which are on that calendar, are Salesforce Saturdays. Salesforce Saturdays are very informal. It's just a way to meet and network. Well, they're actually, the different Salesforce Saturday groups, they do vary, but the first one started out very formally by Stephanie Herrera in Austin, Texas. That's the AUS, stands for Austin. Oh, hold on. Am I sharing the slides? Okay. Oh, thanks for pointing that out, Doug. Here, let me try doing this. Okay. All right. Do you see the flag? The let your fine flag fly?
We do see let your fine flag fly.
You see the fine flag flying. Okay. Okay. All right. So I guess maybe it was a bit of a delay. Okay. And I talk very fast. I'm breaking space and time. Carmel, I hope you better be calculating these mathematics of my speed. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I see that now. All right. So there you go. So there's the website, Salesforce Saturdays. There's different groups all around the world for Salesforce Saturdays. They're harder to find than the Trailblazer community groups because they're not official Salesforce groups. The first one started by Stephanie Herrera, who just said, hey, on Saturday, I'm just going to go to the coffee shop and do Trailhead. Anyone who wants to do Trailhead on a Saturday, meet me at the coffee shop. First one, no one came. Second one, someone came at the last 5 minutes and she was like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry I'm late. And Stephanie said, oh my goodness, you're here. Yay. So, and then from there, it snowballed. So Phoenix over here is the second one that started, and then they've just grown all over. So over here are just 3 examples. They have other ones. There's in Minnesota, Seattle. There's a lot of places, but I find some of them are harder to find. And what I like about Austin, Phoenix, and Raleigh, North Carolina, RTP. I don't know if anyone already identified that, but you gotta be quicker on that keyboard. So Raleigh, North Carolina, they're all on Meetup and they have weekly meetings. And I think that's another just really great CRM break, people relationship best practice is just being predictable, being easy to find. So having routine meetings, even if it's just you, just make it a deal to show up. So that's what's great about those groups and how they do their meetings. So it's easy to find. And then also the fourth tip for finding people is finding interest. So for instance, I joined the IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysts. There's also PMI, Project Management Institute. There's also a Tableau community group. And there's also other community groups for Toastmasters, for science people. Find networking groups, and through that networking, you're going to be able to develop yourself professionally and develop your network professionally, because that's the key. What networking is so wonderful is that it's you're shooting for the stars, but if you miss, you're going to be living on a cloud. So you're able to go towards your goal, your moon mission, but you're getting knowledge on the way. And you should not lose sight of that. Do not be discouraged about saying, oh, I don't have a Salesforce job at this time. Okay, well, pace yourself. How can you keep slow and steady so that you can win that race? If you just take that break, you're going to be, as the hair goes. So you want to make sure you are steady as that turtle, staying with the race by having good, sustainable practices for your schedule and habits. And from there, once you're able to find people, you can then develop sustainable habits about how to connect with people. So let's connect for CRM, your LinkedIn. This I'm so enthusiastic about because we're people relationship management people. And this is something I see as such an oversight. I get LinkedIn connections now a lot more than I've gotten before. And it surprises me when I get a LinkedIn invite connection and there's no invitation message. I will always put a message in the invitation. I don't care if we are talking right now and you know me. I'm going to put a message in there because in the future, I don't know if I'm going to remember where we met. I don't know if I'm going to remember where you met. I don't know if we're going to remember this conversation, what we were talking about. It's it's your feed. It's your post. Put a post about what you met about. So that is CRM, your LinkedIn. Put an invitation message so that you're making things obvious to the oblivious. That's why my definition of customer service is making things obvious to the oblivious, so people are not thrown off of those validation rule errors and all that stuff we admins know about to try and keep people on the happy path. We could be able to have the right types of fields for them to select. We could be able to have a system that is a great user experience. So give yourself in the future and the people you cooperate with great a great user experience. And this is key because here's this model called Go From Invisible to Irresistible. At the end of the slides, I'm going to share my resources. This one I picked up from a podcast called Sales for Nerds. And this is the author, John Livesay, talking about, it was from, he's author of a book, Better Selling Through Storytelling. And his model is the 5 I's, go from invisible to irresistible. And I want you to keep this model in mind as you're connecting. This is the model for sales if you're selling something. It's the model for yourself as you're connecting with people and having a network, how you can be positively patient instead of passively pessimistic. Passively pessimistic is like you try to get a sale. Oh, those people, they're just so rude. They didn't want to buy my sale. You try to connect with someone. This person's not responding to my emails. They're so rude. Well, maybe they're busy. Maybe they didn't see you. Maybe your message was not appropriate. You have to be able to be positively persistent by putting an appropriate message and scientifically learning what is the best message for the best person. So we start off at step 0. These are all lettered, but I should have numbered it. A is 0. Step 0, invisible. They don't know you exist. They never met you before. So that's it. This is step 0. You haven't met before. Step -1 is insignificant. I'm calling this -1 because this is perhaps even worse than being invisible. Insignificant is spam. This is when you get those LinkedIn messages of people who are just like trying to sell you something that's not for you, and they just want to connect right away just to sell you something, and it puts your guard up. People won't listen to you if they don't like you, and they won't like you if they don't trust you. So you first have to build trust. Then you could be able to speak. Once you're able to build trust, you can have a conversation and you can listen to them. And when you listen to them, they're going to like you because they like themselves and they like having someone who can empathize and listen. And once you listen to them, you're then able to speak because you understand them better. They like you. And now you can be able to give appropriate feedback. So that's how you can be able to have someone listen to you how you could speak to the mind by first speaking to the heart, and before that, speaking to the gut. So the gut, the heart, the mind. You want to be approachable. You want to be respectful, and you want to be then knowledgeable. So insignificant, be very cautious, be very patient, positively patient. You want to keep yourself busy with many of those networking leads. Interesting is step 1. This is if you're networking the right way. You're connecting to someone at a meeting and they connecting with you. Oh, great, you're both in Salesforce. Great, that's interesting. Oh, you both like Toastmasters. That's interesting. Interesting is something where they can respect it. They know what it is. Like, I see a Ferrari. That's interesting. I know what a Ferrari is. I know people who have a Ferrari. Now, am I going to be buying a Ferrari? No, not now. I see you work in Salesforce. You're looking for a job. Do I have a job for you? No, not right now. But I know the job you do, and I think what you do is interesting. We can have a relationship. Interesting is just acknowledgement and acknowledgement for who you are, your own unique value. You're not selling something. You are being respectful to be able to you're having integrity. So another I right there. Interesting is integrity. Intriguing is when the time is right. That is the matter of luck, having the right skills in the right time. Intriguing is they're leaning in so much their cup is spilling over. Intriguing is they are asking the questions about, oh, actually, I mix those two up. Intriguing is they're intrigued, they find you very good. Interesting is now they're giving interest. Those two words are kind of synonymous. We're going to just stick with this. Okay, so the step two, which is really letter 4. Step 2, the intriguing. The step they're now leaning in. They now know, ooh, I have this position. I have this project. Ooh, I need this help. Ooh, I want to buy a Ferrari. I want to buy a fast car. They're now thinking they have this need. Ooh, I got to cut. I need a Band-Aid. I need a Band-Aid. What's the what can I buy? Oh, Band-Aids. Like it's you want to be associated, branded. You want to be thought of. When I'm thinking, ooh, I got to think of someone. I want to speak up for science. Who? Oh, Carmel. Like Carmel even like practically planted that seed in my head, thinking that I want someone to be able to talk about science. So that's the great beauty of being interesting and then being able to create those opportunities for you. So you're intriguing. And then if those opportunities are lined up just so wonderfully, you have that wonderful luck, that's when you're irresistible. That is the, hey, I've already lined this up for you. Just shut up and take my money. That's being able to just say, okay, yeah, I know I've already planned everything out. I have no more questions. I don't want a salesperson. I want to answer my questions. Intriguing, you're answering my questions. I just want to be able to make this, follow me, be my sales consultant, follow me to be able to help me make this work. I want you to listen to me. So those are the 5 I's. More about that, I'll link at the end for John Livesay's podcast. And later I'll link to his book as well. The next step, once you're connected, you can now begin the conversation, chatting. Here are some more I's. So this is actually this model, 3 I's for 3 I's. Informal informational interviews for interest, insights, and introductions. This right here, I picked up from another podcast, Career Cloud Radio, hosted by Justin Dux. I met Justin Dux mid-October in a Minnesota user group meeting. He presented mock interviews. And from that, I was really impressed with his presentation. I found it very, I was leaning into it. So I looked at his podcast, binge listened to the whole podcast, got down to this episode right here, informal informational interviews for interest, insights, and introductions. And it's actually hosted by the previous host of the podcast before Justin took over. And this one right here sparked off that light bulb for me. Science, innovation, about how I could be able to network, because I don't know if you know, it's a little secret, but I'm very outgoing. Just so you know, if I didn't tell you until now, I'm a little shy about being outgoing, but I want to let you know I'm outgoing. But as outgoing as I am, I'm awkward. I'm a person in a conversation. Why am I going to be connecting with you? What am I going to say if we're having an interview? What am I going to ask? What am I going to try to get out? So this is what really I love so much about this model, the informal informational interviews for interest, insights, and introductions, because those last 3 I's, interest, insights, and introduction, those are your goals. That is what you're going to try to get out of the meeting. So interest, I'm going to ask someone first, just setting up the meeting. Hey, can I get an informal informational interview for you? Or, can I get an informational interview with you? What's it about? Well, I just want to learn about your journey and what you like about it, and see how we and learn more about each other. The Ohana is, we are people relationship management people. I was able to get 150 in a month. Now, it was very slow and steady. You have to understand marketing and luck, how luck comes from having the right skills at the right time. I tried a lot of times. About 25% of my LinkedIn requests actually connected, and then 25% of those actually set up informational interviews with. So I set up a lot in order to get 150. So, you just put up the work that you think you can be able to do based on your schedule. But what I can say, even with all that in different professions, the Ohana is like no other, because people are so, they're so encouraging, because the system is so accessible and they want to be able to see others get access to it. And they're so excited about the impact it could be able to do. And they want to learn from others because it's involving. So the Ohana is it's all that and more. So the interests, insights, and introductions found really nice, because the first question, interest, tell me, what do you like about your job? Well, how did you find your path? What do you like about your path? You can word it in your own way, but it's a way to start the conversation. Tell me, how did you get here? What was that drive for you? And this is a great opening question, because you're going to excite people. You're talking about their passion. So they're going to be very happy. Second question, what do you wish you knew when you started? This question, every time people have said, wow, that's a great question. I swear, every time people say this, because first, it is a great question. Second, they're saying that to think, because they're now digging into their past. What do they wish they knew now? What do they know now? What do they wish they knew when they started? What do they wish they knew when they started? They're going to think, what do they know now that they wish they knew when they started? So they're going to take time to think. Give them that time to think. Take the compliment. And this is really wonderful, because these are those gold nuggets for you that will help you to develop yourself on your journey. You're getting informational interviews. This is the gold right here, the information. And then finally, the introductions. This is how you can continue that journey. You're going to ask, what or whom can further help my journey? So can you introduce me to a podcast, a book, influencer? Who do you learn from? I want to know what you learned from, because you're very knowledgeable, and I want to be more connected with you. That's how networks work. The more connected we are, the stronger our connection is, and the more we can help each other from those common bonds. Is there a person you can introduce me to that can next further my journey? And that one's great, because when I asked that one, people would come back to me, say, well, tell me more about your ask. What are you looking for? So that helped me further iteratively articulate my ask and develop myself. And from these three, this is the key to then following up. You now have your data. Make your notes. You can use you could use Salesforce. I use Google Docs, actually, because it was just a lot quicker for me to just write notes about the person and put it in a Google Doc. You could use Salesforce, you could use whatever, but make sure you make notes about the person, because that's how you can follow up. Okay, who do I know about science? Who do I know in VetForce? Make those notes. Put that in there and manage it however you want. It doesn't have to be as complicated as Salesforce. You're not following a pipeline for anything. So that's why I just have as just my log about people, where I could just Control F and search for keywords. You also want to, what else is great other apps? Trello, that's it's a task management app. It's a Kanban app. So it's a series of columns where you can be able to say, this is the column for the people I'm going to follow up with. This is a column for books that people have recommended. And this is a column for books that I'm reading. So that I'm going to see books that people recommend. I'm going to see what's available from the library, or what's available in my timeline. When something's available from the library and in my timeline, I'll put it over to what I'm actively reading. And now here it is. This book is on my Kanban. I could be able to make notes right there. And now I follow up with the person. Thank you for recommending that book. Thank you for recommending that podcast. This is what I learned from it, and this is how I'm applying it. This is how you'll continue that relationship. If you're going to be power networking, if you're not periodically meeting people, how are you going to sustain that connection? It takes many, many times to keep a relationship well connected, and it has to be continued in order to keep it fresh. So you're going to keep it fresh by finding ways to connect. So find what you can learn from that person and connect with them, let them know what you thought about that. And that's a win-win. You're keeping that connection fresh and you're learning. Knowledge is power. So, with that said, I thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I would love to learn from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn, put a note, invitation request. So I know you saw this right here, this presentation, and let me know what you thought about this presentation and these resources. So we'll share this slide deck, but you can also just take a photo of it or just see it on YouTube. This is the first resource right here, the 3 Eyes for 3 Eyes by Stephanie Brown on the Career Cloud Radio. This is the podcast episode that started off my networking journey by hearing about Stephanie Brown's networking journey and how she developed that model, 3 Eyes for 3 Eyes. So for more information about that, there's the episode of Career Cloud Radio. And I love every episode of this Career Cloud Radio. Great podcast. So there we go. Second recommendation, every episode of Career Cloud Radio by Justin Dux. Justin Dux is another great person to connect to. He is a wonderful mentor in the Trailblazer community. So great person to connect to. This is the other eyes. So these are the 5 Eyes by John Livesay, going from invisible to irresistible. So that's on the Sales for Nerds podcast. And then 2 more. Captivate, the Science of Succeeding with People by Vanessa Van Edwards. Of course, we were talking about science today, so a bit more of science. I got this episode, I heard about this book and speaker also from Sales for Nerds. Vanessa Van Edwards is everywhere. She gave a big TED Talk, is one of the a top watch TED Talk. And she has a institute that studies social intelligence and how to be able to she has studied questions for how to be able to deepen a conversation for the first 5 minutes, 5 hours, and 5 days. So how do you break the ice? How do you, for the first 5 minutes, how do you keep a conversation for 5 hours, explore more? And then how do you build deep connections for lasting friendships? So she is really very wonderful, great science. And then this one is a huge passion of mine, deep listening. There's actually a community for this. I mentioned the Toastmasters, but what about Listen Masters? This is something that is very much underrepresented, undertaught in schools. We teach science, we teach speaking, but we don't teach listening. And the Deep Listening podcast is wonderful. I love this podcast because it has every episode a different speaker, different specialist, but there's some episodes where you're able to hear Oscar Triboli himself and hear about his model for deep listening. The one thing to remember for deep listening, how I try to remember for deep listening, is that a person could speak up to 150 words a minute, but we think at around 900 words a minute. So if a person says something, that's only about 1/6 of what they're actually saying. So you want to make sure you ask, tell me more. What else? Pause, let the silence, treat silence be a word. And that mindset has been wonderful for me because, as you see, I love to talk and that's become quite a habit of mine. So being able to change my mindset to focus on other people has been helpful with those. And over here, listeningquiz.com is the introduction to that podcast, where you first actually take a quiz to see who your whom your listening villains are. And so, for instance, mine is the interrupter, because as you see, I love to talk. And so that's where I have to pay special attention to treating silence like a word. So I don't just jump in when there's a break. I let the other person think. And I'm very happy this is being recorded so that you can pause. You can create your own pauses for all of this. But for any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk about any of those topics. And let's succeed together. Yay! Thank you.
Ooh, that was awesome. Thank you. So, there we go. Just trying to get rid of the video. No, it was awesome. Thank you, Jason. As far as questions and so forth, So far, we actually don't have it. We have some good interaction going in on the thread, but no questions as of right now. So let's just pause for a moment. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we can get a hold of them and hopefully answer them to the best of our ability. So I'll give you a minute or two for that. While that's popping up, Jason, did you have that site that you were talking about as far as like the number generator or whatnot?
Oh yeah. All right.
So I know you did, when we talked about this earlier, you said something about you can set the number. So let's say it's 19, it looks like.
Nice. And what we could do, we could be able to just see the participants. And from the participants, we could just go by that list that we see on the participant list.
Okay. So basically we tell them to choose a number between 1 and 19. Is that right?
No, I would say we see the participant list on our side, because if people are choosing number, they might double it. So I say, like, just from your view, if you click on participants, although from participants, I only see 6 people, although 19 are watching. So if you want to be a guest involved with the raffle, you have to be involved in the chat. Jump in the chat, say something, you got to participate.
Participants. And that's, well, I would say that's not necessarily accurate, because I know like Justin Raines came in and commented earlier, and there's some other people that I'm putting on here.
Let's see. All right. Interesting. Okay.
We can give out more than one prize, right? So in Reach Your Chopra, this is just as an FYI, instead of doing a quiz, kind of like we've been doing the last 2 months, due to the hiccups, we're going to kind of limit the swag that's given away. And so what we're doing is we're actually going to just do a number generator and kind of give out one prize, or however many people guess the right number, kind of thing, or closest to it. So yeah, so let's do 1 through 20, and then if more than one person gets the right answer, then I mean, in the past we've been giving away 5, right? So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So exactly. Good. Yeah, exactly. So in the chat, everyone just pick a number in the chat, 1 through 20. If you got to be fast. If someone picks a number before you, you have to pick a second one.
So we have about 30. Give them about a minute. So it's 7:44 on my computer right now. That just went over the net. So obviously, you got to remember we have that delay. So let's just say when it strikes 7:46.
Okay.
Cool. So yes, there we go. We got one number.
13.
Like I said, I knew Justin Raines was a participant. I don't know why he's not showing up though, or now he is. But yeah, he did show up earlier. Kyung, you got to choose another number.
Aha.
I appreciate you subscribing, but you got to choose another number. And then April, I do apologize, but you should probably choose another number as well. We're trying to basically, it says Jason was saying we should have. There we go.
Oh wait, I think I saw 3 also. Yeah, Brian already got 3, so pick another number. Sorry, April. Gonna pick 8. I know stuff at the end. Let's see. I think 2. You can go with 2.
There's got to be at least 2 numbers involved, because we included one extra one, and that includes 13. Me. So there's at least a few numbers that are still available.
Oh wait,
Justin actually chose that one first. That was the first choice out the door.
So we still got numbers available, or 2.
There we go. 12's good.
12, okay.
And then April, I think so someone's already chosen 3, and all right, so let's see, is 9 available? 9's available. Well, nope. Sorry, mine.
No, Liz already got 9.
Liz chosen 9.
You can get 10.
10 or 20.
Ooh. That's right. We're going up to 20. No one thought about that one yet.
All right, let's see.
Two. Yes, two. Two was yeah, two I saw was available.
All righty, there we go then. Sweet. So, and I guess Jess, can you share your screen when you're choosing or when you're doing the?
Yeah, we'll make it fair. Here, I'll show you how I do this. Okay, this is how I do it. Do. Random number generator. Okay, so here we go. The random number generator. I just Googled random number generator, and hooray for Google. Shout out to David Liu for building this. So here we go. So yeah, just you pick the maximum number right there. We got over 20. I click generate, and here we go. Drum roll. 4.
All righty, who got a 4? Who got a 4? 4 going once.
4.
Wow.
Carmel.
So just so everyone's on the right page here, Carmel chose that, and this was not scripted from Google. Okay, so it's not like we chose her number because she was an amazing presenter. It was literally random through Google. So
it's true. She
so
could show
congratulations.
the science to prove it.
So cool. So let's just, since we still have everyone else here, let's go ahead and click this one more time. And hopefully we don't get another, no offense, but hopefully we don't get another 4.
Okay, let's see. Drum roll. 2. Oh! Wait. Who got 2? Is it April got 2?
Yeah. I think so, actually. See, being the last one was actually a good choice. And yes,
hey, Carmel was going to give it to April anyway. See, Carmel, you can't give it to April.
Congratulations. There we go. All right.
Wow,
Awesome.
Carmel's really lucky day. She gets the pick and her pick.
So it was great seeing everyone, at least in the chat. Of course, you know, it's going to be even more awesome when we can do live events again here in the area. But until then, thank you very much for spending the evening with us. Definitely means a lot to us, and hopefully you were able to get some positive and informative information this evening.
Yes, and stay tuned for next month. We're going to have another fun group together of presenters. So 2 fun presenters for next month. Stay tuned for more information. That confirmation is going to be coming through, but we have something more themed for April. And just that'll be the little riddle. What could be themed for April? I have some ideas.
And if you have any suggestions, please go into the success.salesforce.com site and add them in there as a comment. Other than that, April Phoenix, please send me an email. Actually, I will put my email here in the chat. And I look forward to seeing y'all next month.
Aloha.